Let's hold off closing until we get those resolved.
Well, as it stands right now, it won't.
Now, right now, there's only one oil and gas lease with Carter Jones Lumber's oil division. And if that's the only one we have, then I'm going to recommend that we close, because they actually had drilled the well. They capped it because it was not a producing well. And they properly plugged and abandoned it. We have all the records from the state on that. So if that's the only one, then we'll close. But what I've learned in Geauga County is that there's almost no property of any size in this county that doesn't have some old oil and gas lease that nobody figured out that they should go get, removed from record. When you do a normal search for title, those searches aren't done. They don't go back 100 years, and they don't go look for what assignments may have occurred. So the reason why we want to make sure on the Carter Jones ones is we want to find out if it was assigned. If it was, then we have to give the forfeiture notice to whoever the assignee was. And that report should be in this week.
And the one that was out there was kept like in the 80s sometime.
Yeah,
yeah.
4, I think, something like that. Yeah.
All right, any other questions? I'll go ahead and call vote to amend the purchase and sale agreement for the Longwood property as presented by our legal counsel. Put that right here, so you can sign it later, Jackie. Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just to back up a little bit, Dale.
Sure.
My attorney did that with my property here about 25 years ago. We erased all whatever deeds we had with them. So I cleaned that up.
Yeah,
It didn't take that long, really. It's just the response time between attorneys that took time.
right. There's when you get the old leases and there's nobody to serve anymore, you got to go through an affidavit of publication, and then you have to. You send this notice out and you record with the county, and then you wait another 30 days, and then if nobody files any objection, then you file another document with the recorder, and then it's done. So that's why it takes 2 to 3 months.
Right.
All right, next up is the 50-year use agreement. The Village of Middlefield, Ohio, for provisions for the Maple Highlands Trail, we call Maple Highlands Trail South. Since our last meeting, we've been in discussions with Middlefield about the provision of snowmobiles on Maple Highlands Trail South, and they would like to have that stricken. The reason being is they plow a section, the section that they own on Maple Highlands Trail South, to be able to accommodate the Amish. Obviously, snowmobiles and Amish in that situation do not mix. So I will entertain a motion to amend the 50-year use agreement to redefine the permitted uses. They're only in section 1.1, and those provisions are to eliminate the provision for snowmobiles, to change motorized mobility devices to non-motorized mobility devices. That's to be able to accommodate our people with disabilities, and to authorize the executive director to execute the 50-year use agreement between the Village of Middlefield and Geauga Park District. In addition, I've got a notary page here from our legal counsel this morning. They feel the 50-year use agreement, because it is 50 years, should be entered into record in the county recorder's office. So I've got that page 5 right here. So I will entertain that motion and take questions.
So moved.
Second. You need to vote on it.
Yeah, are there any questions? Those, I highlighted those changes in red in the 50-year use agreement. I just stated, so.
The only
Those are
comment,
the changes.
the only comment I made, John, is that I agree wholeheartedly with the revision. And case you folks haven't seen it, I suppose you have, all right? Yeah. So it's, yeah, it's good.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the vote. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Thank you. That amendment will go to village council on the 13th, which is this Thursday. Okay, next up, planning, new business, and planning and operations update.
So the first sheet is kind of the normal construction update on the projects. Pretty much most of the projects except for the NASA Observatory are kind of wrapping up and coming to completion. On the NASA Observatory, you can see there, I'll point out, we do have a difference currently of about $160,273.37. I point that out because that relates to some of the additional items we're going to talk about in regards to that project specifically. So that's currently the balance we're carrying on that project. We still have to finish construction of the building and all the improvements we're doing currently with home construction. And then there are some additional things related to the telescope and automation of the dome, and then also internal exhibit spaces and things like that, which are included in the packet. But are there any questions specifically to any of the current construction?
If that's the case, we'll move on to the contract we're requesting for NASA for the Warner and Swayze telescope.
So included in the packet, I noticed that these are actually, since there was only one proposal returning, those are the actual tabulations. So this, we went out with a design build proposal for the automation of the dome and the telescope. We've been working with a technical advisory committee going back to like 2010. And basically, the work in this proposal relates to bringing the telescope up to operation for public events. There's a lot of things, the building and the telescope date back to the 50s, so there's a lot of things with the dome and the, right now the dome does currently rotate and work, but there's some things that need to be done to kind of bring it up to a public standard where it's safe and a little bit more automated based on technology. With the telescope itself, if you look through the proposal, there's a lot of things that have to be done with eyepieces, finishing the mirrors, plus automating the actual computer system that runs the scope. The current system out there was from the mid-90s when Case was still using it. So virtually all the software and everything's kind of obsolete. So the company that proposed on it is coming in and redoing all the software technology and basically getting to a point where our naturals can come in and utilize the scope for programs. Because of the nature of the work, we felt it would be better to go out with a design build proposal specifically to firms that specialize in observatories and telescopes. So we did reach out to 4 different firms, Astronomical Consultants and Equipment, which is the proposal we received back, which I've included, DFM Engineering, which they actually responded based on the scope of the project. They felt that they weren't going to propose because we had included a budget in our proposal of about $150,000. They felt it would be closer to $220,000, so they declined to propose. Observatory Solutions and ComSoft Telecommunications and Control Consulting, both Don, our IT manager, and myself reached out to them multiple times, and basically they didn't respond. So we're looking at the one proposal that you have in front of you for $160,335. I did include a letter from Dr. Charlie Knox from a TAG committee, who he reviewed the proposal, and he included a letter based on his experience and Case Western Reserve's experience with ACE, and specifically Dr. Mack, who's the engineer involved. And I also reached out to Florida International University and spoke to a Dr. Webb, who's the head of their astronomy program, and they've worked with Dr. Mack too, and basically reiterated to me that he pretty much does all their telescope and observatory work. So at this point, to really move forward with the sort of telescope and dome optimization, and again, because it's so specialized, just schedule-wise, based on the schedule Dr. Mack laid out in there, we would need to make a decision on whether we want to enter